Museum, and that's why I came here to ask you some questions today. Mom, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Alison Gardner. I am Farrah's mom. We are very excited to be here to be able to meet Dr. Kelsi and discuss this amazing book that we both really enjoyed. So, Dr. Kelsi, would you like to tell us more?
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Kelsi Bracmort. I am the author of Simone Visits the Museum. I'm super excited to be here today. This book is a passion project of mine. I understand that you have some really great questions for me, so I'm looking forward to answering your questions and to sneaking in a few questions of my own.
So first question, how did you come up with the idea for this story?
So I came up with the idea for this story about 10 years ago, maybe a little longer than 10 years ago. And I came up with it because I love museums. I really, really love museums. Everywhere I go, every city that I visit, I try to make it a point to go to a museum. And what I wanted to do with this book was I wanted to share that love that I have for museums with the next generation. And so it was just an idea that was mulling over and over in my head about how do I expose children maybe that aren't aware that the arts exist and that there's just beautiful art and artifacts in museums. How can I do that? And so I was like, well, you know what? I think I'll do that with the children's book.
Okay, second question. Is this story based on your family? What inspired you to write this story from a parent-child perspective?
So I was inspired to write the book from a parent-child perspective because I wanted to encourage children to go get out and explore, but children can't really go out by themselves. They need an adult figure, and especially if they're going to go to a museum, there should be someone who is older than them to explain to them what they're seeing, what they're about to do. And so for me also, it was really important to have this strong family dynamic shown in the book and to show something that children could definitely appreciate, but parents could appreciate. So again, as I was thinking about this idea, I was like, how do I create a book that parents, educators, librarians can also use to reinforce or to teach lessons that maybe they want to teach, but they can use this book to do that. And then also, like, how can children have someone to relate to? And with Simone and her brother Scott, they can do that. They have someone that can relate to and someone that is asking questions like I think they are probably asking questions about what's going on.
We really enjoyed just looking at the pictures of the family in the bed, waking up, and we could relate, right? Like we'd come in and bouncing on the bed in the morning, and Daddy's still asleep. Like it was just really, really accurate and natural, and it just seeing a family of color was just also just it's so good, warm fuzzy,
Yeah.
Just seeing yourself in a book and seeing your family, I enjoyed that.
Totally understand, and it warms my heart to hear you say that. So the illustration that we're talking about is the first illustration in the book, and this illustration, I don't know if folks can see it there, this illustration to me was super important to have, and it was super important to me that it be like the introduction to the book. I wanted people to know right away that this is a book that is about family, it's about love, it's about pride, and I just wanted to evoke all of that as soon as you flip to this page and you see it, and you just see the love on Simone's face. She's got her arms up in the air. You just see the loving embrace. It looks like her mother's tickling her on her forehead. These were just the things I wanted to see, and I included the brother here because I want people to know there's a brother in this family, and there are things I just want them to see that love immediately as soon as they open the book. So it really, again, warms my heart to hear you say that and to say like, oh, you got it. Like, yeah, that's what I was going for.
We definitely made that connection, right, Farrah?
Yeah.
Do you have some more questions for Dr. Kelsi?
The fourth question. My dad used to take the 36 bus to get home. Are you from Southeast DC also?
So I live in Southeast DC, and I love Southeast DC. I am a native Washingtonian, meaning that I am from Washington, DC, and the surrounding area. The 36 bus has a special place in my heart, and This illustration here, and I should say that the illustrator for this book is Takia Marie. She's a fabulous illustrator. She does a really wonderful job. But the 36 bus that you see here, this is a bus that every time I see this bus, regardless of where I'm at in the city, like my heart skips a beat because I'm like, oh, this is the bus that's going to get me home. Like this is the bus that gets me home. Like I can get on that bus anywhere and know I will get home. And so it's just something, I love the bus and I love the 36 bus. So I wanted to show that. But I also wanted to have this included as an additional marker to show that Simone and her family live in Southeast DC. And if you're from DC, then you'll realize, again, it was about portraying that authentic picture. How do we say that, yeah, no, this book is like DC. This is a real DC book. And one of the ways I could do that was to include the bus, include an actual intersection. There is a bus stop at this intersection. It was just very important to me that I be authentic. And with this picture and some other options in the book, I was able to do that with the illustrator's help, of course, her vast talent that she has.
Daddy's, you were pointing out, I pointed out to Farrah that Daddy literally, Pennsylvania Avenue is the way to get to his house, or his grandparents' house, and Branch Avenue, yeah, familiar with all that. That's pretty cool to see it illustrated.
Yeah, like I said, I love the city and I wanted to showcase it as best as I could as I see it with diversity and again this authenticity. One of the other things, Farrah, I don't know if you noticed, but the U.S. Capitol is there. So from Pennsylvania Avenue, you can see the U.S. Capitol. And I don't know if people realize that, like even from, Southeast DC, 3-4 miles away, where Simone lives with her family, you can walk out the door, go on the street and see the Capitol.
So, do you want to say one of the questions?
Oh, no, you go answer it.
What is one of your favorite exhibits in the African American history and cultural museum?
So, the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture, and it is a mouthful, but it is a beautiful museum. I'm going to first start with the exterior. I love its presence. I love how it sits on the mall. I love the metalwork, the like bronze. I guess it is kind of metallic metalwork. I like that it's just intricate and woven. And to me, when I walk past it or drive past it, it grabs your eye. So I love the outside of it first. It's just like, what is in that? And then when I walk inside, there's so many things I like, but I'll just give a few. There is an exhibition, I think they call it like the basement. And there is Harriet Tubman's shawl that is there. I love seeing her shawl. I think it's made of lace. I believe it's white or an off-white color. I love seeing that shawl. When I see that shawl again, I think of all that she went through. And for some reason, it reminds me of maybe God draping himself over her and protecting her and making sure she was protected to do what she needed to do. And so there's something about that shawl that just reminds me of that, of what she went through, and like saying someone was there, not someone, but God was there, I believe, protecting her and helping her to get along and to do all that she did. Also in that same, I believe, basement area, there are slave shackles. And so this is more of an artifact, something from the past. It's something that was used to confine slaves as they were coming here and making the passage from Africa to America or to wherever else. I appreciate seeing that because while it reminds me that people can be cruel, it is also a reminder to me of how far we have come and how far we still have to go. I know that we still always need these reminders, even if we're not necessarily there. But just to see the progress that we have made as African Americans, and to see it documented on the National Mall, not that far from the White House and other major places of power, I love that. On the lighter side, Carl Lewis, he is a track star Olympic athlete, or I guess he was a track star Olympic athlete. He has all of his Olympic medals there. I believe, if not all, maybe most of them. Yeah, and it's like, I think 9 medals. And I love that because you just see like all 9 together. And I'm like, man, you just fly. And I remember those memories of watching the Olympics on TV when I was younger with my parents and seeing him win some of those. So that's great. And then I love the music section. They have the hip hop section. I believe they've got like the vinyl records you can go through. And they've got like, George Clinton. This isn't really like my era, but I saw like the mothership there, and I was just like, what's going on? And they're like, but it looks so cool. cool.
At the top there, did you see the spaceship? At the top,
Okay.
that's what she's
Yeah, I'm talking about that. So, just seeing those type of props, I think
Uh-huh.
you sit on stage and just being like, man, what's going on there that time?
So cool.
But it's just like a record, and it's preserving, things that are important to our culture and allowing the entire world to see it when they come visit. But I mean, I could go on and on and on. There's so much to see, and there's so much that I like there at that museum.
Did you have any other questions about what you like at the museum? Do you remember the show when we went?
Yeah.
Harriet Tubman show?
Do you remember that when we first walk in, there's like this little like escalator that goes down?
I think that's where you go to the level. I think we're probably both talking about the same. The basement, you go down like you said, the escalator to the basement.
Have you ever gone down there?
Yes, I went down there and I toured it, and it can be pretty somber and it's like a darker lighting. Is that what you're talking about? That area? Yeah.
Okay, so what is your favorite exhibits? Oh wait, no, that's it. DC is full of so many great museums. Why did you decide to focus on the African American History Museum?
So, again, I thought about this project 10 years ago, and at that time, I had no clue what museum I was going to use. It was just like, I want to get children to the museum. Didn't really know what it was going to be. But then in like 2016, 2017, I got really serious about this book, and that's when, of course, by then, there was more news about the National Museum of African American History and Culture being up. It was out, and I was like, well, this is a no-brainer. We're going to use this museum. This is a book about an African American family. There's an African American museum right here in DC. That is the museum that I will use in this book. So that's how that came about.
Okay, so what inspired you to include Black superheroes on Simone and Scott's show?
That was one of my favorites, right? We like
So
that.
do you want to show me that illustration that you're talking about?
When they woke up in the morning, they had they had these. She had a princess on there, a black princess, and she had a black superhero on her shirt.
So I'm going to show this picture. I'm going to lift it up so that those who are watching online can see it. You asked a great question. And you know what else? You are the first one to ask me that question. The book has been out now for over a year. You are very observant. Thank you for asking that question. So actually the superheroes are featured on their pajamas. That was, I believe, if I recall correctly, I believe that was the illustrator's idea, and I went ahead and went with it because when I saw it, I was like, again, yeah, that makes sense. You can, I believe this next generation of children, you and those younger than you all can save the world. You will save the world. You all have special talents. You will have even better talents than the folks that are here right now. You're going to do great things. So why not have this on their pajamas and remind children that you have superpowers. Use them for good, use them to help others, to give back, and to keep going forward. So that's why they're there.
It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Did Scott finish building his robot?
So, good question. Scott did not finish building his robot, but Scott is very intelligent, so I think he will probably finish his robot pretty soon. Don't know when, but pretty soon.
Yeah, we have some unfinished robots at the house with our older brothers. So
okay.
yeah, we're here and here. So.
Scott is intelligent, he's a tinkerer, so I'm sure he'll get it together.
Okay.
So, do you have a dog at home? We really like Sophie's too.
We thought Sophie was so
So I think Sophie is adorable too, because I had a dog named Sophie. I had a black Cocker Spaniel named Sophie. And I, again, just with that family dynamic and thinking about, having pets and they're loving and they're part of our families too. And there's responsibility that comes from pets. I had pets growing up. I had to clean out your pets, feed pets. I wanted something like that included in the book too. So yeah, I love the tutu. Now my Sophie would not have worn a tutu. The tutu would have stayed on for longer than 5 seconds. But in this book, the tutu stays in place, and it's really, really cool. So yeah, I'm glad you love the tutu.
Yes, we want a dog, so like, you know,
and you
want to add that element to the family. So
and you want a dog that wears a tutu. Maybe.
Yeah. I want like a little dog that I can hold like a baby.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so number 10. Do you think you will write a book about what Scott and his dad did while Mom and Simone were at the museum?
I have not thought about that. So you're asking me, might I write a book about what Scott and his dad do while Simone and her mother are out at the museum?
Yeah, so like a book about Scott and his dad.
Interesting. I have to give that some thought. Maybe. Do you have any ideas about what the plot for that type of book should be? Any ideas about what they do? Maybe I can take a hint from you.
Like, so after when Scott's dad finished doing his robot, and when the dad is finished mowing the lawn, then like they probably go like before like while they're waiting for Sophie and not Sophie, maybe Simone and her mom, then they could probably go to like that park, like in the area. They could probably like play in there. Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah, like
And just play until Simone and her mother join them.
yeah.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, we drove by Anacostia Park the other day too on the way into DC, and I said, Farrah, that's the park. That's the park for the book. And she was like, what? Really? Oh, you know. So it was pretty cool to just kind of again see yourself and see your own kind of family like reflected in the pages.
Right. And again, that was my attempt to really reflect what we actually have here in DC. DC is so beautiful. We have all these national monuments, these national parks, these museums. I just wanted to showcase all of that beauty and put it into a book and remind children, and hopefully maybe they remind their parents, like, you know, there's tons of things to do here. There's lots of neat things to do.
Even with the dad, like Scott and Dad, they were rollerblading. So I thought that was kind of cool too, you know.
So if you have
and crew.
if you have a quick second, I'll tell you quickly about, I'll give you a little bit more about this illustration. So in this illustration, Scott and their father are roller skating. The reason I included this is because Anacostia National Park actually has a roller skating rink. And it's my understanding that it's the only national park in the country to have a roller skating rink. So again, that's how I wanted to bring that in. I couldn't show the roller skating rink because if I'm geographically correct, it's in a different position of the park outside of the shot. I was like, well, we can show them roller skating and that can be the connection.
So did you actually go side to side with the illustrator and like, you know, flesh out your ideas?
What we did is we did a lot of I call ground truthing, where, you know, I would say this is kind of how I see the scene. She would give her input, and then she would do the sketches. And actually, I remember on this illustration in particular, she had the water like in, I think, an aquamarine blue, like something like in the tropics. I was like, oh, no, we're not in the Caribbean. This is the Anacostia. There's a different type of water system up here. It needs to be a little bit browner and dark green. So that's what we did. We would go back and forth. And because, again, I am from this community, I live in this community, I know it. I exercise here, you know, I work here, I live here, I play here. You know, again, if you go on the Anacostia River, you will see several rowing teams practicing at just about any time of the day. And so that was important to me to show what you actually see there. I guess to make it like realistic fiction, a book realistic fiction.
Also, I have one more question. Was this book based off your family or anything?
So it was a work of imagination that I birthed, I guess you could say. It was not based off of my exact family dynamic, but what I can tell you is that from a very young age, I was exposed to the arts. At a very young age, my mother constantly had me, she loves the museums as well. So this is like the thing, this is our thing. We go to museums, and so I would say she had a strong influence on me with this book, but I wouldn't say that it's based off of anything that we've done. But I would say my love for museums, my love for art came from her, because every weekend, I mean, we used to have, as I got older, kind of like, I'd say brunch dates. After we go to church, we might get something to eat and then go to the museum. So we just love museums and talking about, you know, the latest exhibition at some museum that's in town. So my love for museums came from her, but the story is mine.
Okay. So
Yeah.
this is the last question.
Okay.
Have you written any other books, or are you working on any other books?
So I have not written any other children's books. This is actually my first children's book, and right. And so my plan is that this book will be the first in a series, and I want to write a lot more, and I put a lot more out there. I have a lot more things that are in my mind that I think children and adults both would appreciate. That said, I will also say it takes a lot of resources financially, and it takes a lot of time to do this. I'm an independent publisher, and to do it right from the get-go, I said the only way I'll do this is if I can make it the best product possible. And to make it the best product possible takes an investment. So this isn't something that I think I can just kind of spit out really casually and just say, okay, every 2 months, here you go. Given the level of thought, the level of detail that I have, the impact that I would like to see it have, the high quality mark that I want to meet, it's going to take time to do that. So I'm not going to rush myself. I want it to be great. And if that takes, additional time, it takes additional time. I don't want to be rushed by it. I want to get it right, because hopefully this is going to outlast me and be relevant to kids for years and generations to come.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to go with it. But since there's so many museums, and so many different stories you can tell about Simone. We like Simone, right, Farrah?
Yeah.
It's very cool. We like her outfit and her. Was it the glasses?
It was kind of like, I liked her outfit because it was kind of like 4th of July kind of ish.
Yeah, she noticed that it was like patriotic, right? Or something. I don't know.
Because it was it had red and had red stripes and a white shirt, and then she had red glasses and a blue jacket, and I kind of like it.
So can I ask you a question about Simone? When you see the cover and you see Simone throughout the book, how did her hairstyle make you feel? Did you like her hairstyle, the braids?
Yeah.
Okay. And I noticed you have braids right now.
Yeah.
Will you tell me why you like the hairstyle?
I like the hairstyle because I had I think it was last week, I had something similar to it, but my ponytail wasn't as long as hers. It was kind of
Okay. So you rock Simone style for a few days. Cool. Next time, take a picture. I'd like to see.
I appreciate that, because I'm an avid reader as well, and growing up, I had the Babysitters Club, and it was difficult to find books that had people that looked like me. So as for my daughter, I'm very grateful for you for putting something like this out there, so that the next generation can see themselves in literature, and just have that reinforcement that their stories are valuable, their narratives are valuable, and it's something that needs to be told. And she's just comfortable with it. Like, this is just her reality. She doesn't even really know what it's like to have books, and there's nobody that looks like you, and nobody that has braids, or everybody has blonde hair or other color hair, but it's not you. So it's something. I should show you some of my old books I used to read.
I totally get it, and you took the words out of my mouth. And so I tell people, one of the things I didn't think about with this project is the joy that I would get when I sign the book for young children like you, Farrah, and others. So when I signed the title page, again, my heart kind of melts. I almost shed a tear, because I'm like, I didn't have books like this that I can recall.
Yes.
There were some, but nothing like this, or the quantity of books that are now available if you really search like online, and usually they are independent published like I am. And so when I sign the book now, it means so much to me to think they're going to get this book. Like they have this book. It's special, and I don't say that just because it was a vision I had and was able to execute with the help of many, including the illustrator. I say it because I really just did not see this out there, and it kind of irked me to the point where I was like, why don't I see this book? I don't get it. I don't understand it. Why don't I see something like this? But it also forced me into action to say, okay, I'm going to try and put this out there. I'm going to put my own resources behind it, see if I can make it happen and what happens. But I just had like this flash of, I don't get it. I'm frustrated. Why can't I see this book? I mentor with kids. I read all the time. I don't see this. So to hear you say that, it's like, okay, I wasn't crazy.
No, not at all.
This is a reality for some other people too.
Absolutely. So thank you for your courage, to just put it out there. We really enjoyed it. Over the 10 years, like, did the story shift in your mind? Like, was it initially, like, maybe were you thinking about it being a boy, or, I know, I'm pretty sure maybe it was probably going to be museums, or?
Yes, it was going to be a museum. So it did shift a little bit. So originally my idea was like, I knew I wanted something fresh. I knew I wanted some type of artwork that I had not really seen before, and something that was just like really attention grabbing. But I also thought at first, like, I was like, I'm going to make this like a short graphic novel. I was like, it'll be just very short text, and maybe kind of like if you're looking at a comic strip, a bunch of different panels on the page. Okay. But once I got started, I just had a lot more to say.
Then those little squares.
It's like, this doesn't work. I should probably just make this a true children's book. And so that's what it did. Yes, so it really morphed from, again, that more comic, like graphic novel type of deal to like, no, let's just make this a real book. And the illustrator again is so talented that we can make these beautiful scenes and show these, and I can spend additional time with the text and just really developing the story. And what I tried to do, and again, I had not thought about this at first, it didn't come to me until I kind of hit the ground running, was I tried to make it, when I was writing the text, I tried to picture myself when I mentor or when I have kids that I read with. What questions can I ask them to make sure that they're comprehending what's on the page? Right. How can we have a break to say, do you understand what's going on here? So it was like I said, it was thinking from a child perspective, but it was also thinking from the adult perspective and the educator and a teacher perspective.
I used to teach first grade, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. So the point about, how do we, what's the typical etiquette for a museum? Those things. So again, hopefully a teacher or someone else can say, well, remember, Simone said that we lower our voices, we greet the workers, reinforcing and teaching those type of lessons that maybe they might not get elsewhere.
Oh, that's true, because I think there was something about don't touch anything, right, Farrah? Do you remember that part?
Keep your hands to yourselves.
Remember when we did the picture walk?
Yeah, and I remember that time we were sitting on the bench for a long time.
At the museum?
Yeah, and also, we brought water and it spilled a lot.
Yeah, that happened. It was hot. We went on July 4th and it was so hot. And, we were thirsty. We went to the African American Museum of History.
Like 100 degrees.
Yes, that was hot.
Well, you have to stay hydrated. So.
We're inspired to do a mommy and daughter museum trip, right?
Yeah.
We were gonna do one.
Yeah, we're gonna do one, but we were too tired because where did we go?
Girl Scout.
Yeah, we went to this Girl Scout thing and it was really hot. Had to sell cookies for the hurricane. Yeah, hurricane door.
Fundraiser.
Farrah, we have so much in common. I was a Girl Scout. I was a Girl Scout. Yeah, I went all the way through. I earned the Gold Award, which is the highest award that one can earn. So, you are cool. We have a lot in common.
Girl Scout meeting tonight.
Right.
Do you have any questions for her? Maybe she might do a book about Girl Scouts. Or maybe Simone might.
Maybe. But so you think that you and your mother want to do a museum visit one day when you can? Yeah. Okay. And do you think the story in this book will be helpful to you as you go forward?
Yeah.
How so?
I really like it. It's like Simone has a great personality.
resemble her. You just feel like she is you, you are her. You do some of the same things. Well, I'm again, that makes me very happy. I'm happy to hear that. I know that Simone is really inquisitive. She has a lot of questions, and I know also that Simone has her parents and her brothers to always lean on, like you have your mother and your father to always lean on. And that was something else again that I wanted to come through in this book, was that family dynamic. Is that it's perfectly natural as a child to have questions, and you know, hopefully there is someone there to guide you along the way and further encourage you, and you know, to inspire you to go on and do what you want to do.
So, because Simone's mom, she's a good mom. I mean, you know, it's tired. Sometimes on Saturday you want to stay in. I love how she had her head wrap on. You know, that was also very authentic.
It's kind of like you.
Yeah, when I have my head scarf on. But you know, sometimes you just want to lay around. But like the tribute to your mom, like just taking you out and exposing you to different museums and culture.
Well, we're so lucky in DC. Living here in DC or in this area, we have so many museums that are free. And so we can pop in and we can pop out. And I like to remind people it doesn't take all day. You don't have to go for 4 hours. You can if you want to. But there are definitely times where I go and I see an exhibit for 30 minutes and then I walk on out and go on about the rest of my day. So one of the goals of this book too was to show people, how do you just incorporate a museum visit into an ordinary day? You know, how do you show that it doesn't have to take your entire day, it doesn't have to wear you out, you can go do everything else you need to do, pop in, get some art in your life really quickly, and then pop out, you know, and go on with the rest of your day.
That's true. I didn't even think about the timing. She wasn't there like all day long, you know.
Also, like me and my mom and my dad. So like every year we do like a daddy-daughter or mother-daughter day where we go out somewhere special, and we spend the day there. And then, like when I was 5, my dad bought me flowers and stuff.
That's a very nice thing of him to do. Okay. So he buys you flowers every year?
Not every year, but
But almost. Okay, so you already were kind of familiar with this story because you're used to spending time with your parents, right? Okay, so you have, like you said, the mother-daughter, father-daughter day.
Yeah. Cool. It's another thing you have in common with Simone. It's cool. I like Simone. Yeah.
Can I ask you both a question? This is the scene where Simone and her mother, they are done visiting the museum and they're now having lunch. There are a few odd things that happen, and I'll show this to our viewers out there. There are a few odd things that happen in this illustration. Did you happen to notice those things right away? I'm curious. When you flipped to this page and started reading, did you say, that looks pretty odd, that looks pretty cool? Anything you see in there?
You did have a comment when we read this. What do you remember this? You asked me.
Anything that doesn't look too normal. Something that you might not see all the time. Something, and this is, I inserted some things in here. I asked the illustrator to insert some of these things to show just like city living and how when you walk out the door, you don't know what you might see.
Okay, now
I know what I see. Like there's like these little shops behind there and stuff, and like usually when I go to a restaurant or something or a cafe, like there's not a lot of those. But
you're right. So they are. They're doing alfresco dining, they're eating outside, and there is a market going on behind them. People are selling their wares or whatever belongings they have. So you're right, that's it. Is there something else you see?
oh,
the cat! He doesn't have a leg. A part of his leg is missing.
That's true, but he is walking a cat on a leash.
Oh!
yeah.
You're right. You would see that.
But I have seen that.
Yeah, that's definitely something you'd see like in the city. You won't see him in the suburbs maybe, but
I have seen that. And so I was like,
and he's a 3-legged cat.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. And which is something you see too, potentially because there's
So,
whole body cats.
and then I also included the young lady skateboarding. I thought that's pretty cool. I see a few women skateboarding. I'd love to see more So there she is. She's skateboarding there.
Yes, yes.
And then one other thing that we put in here into the scene to show city living is there are two men, and they're. Can you tell me what they're doing, Farrah? What does it look like they're doing to you? Well, they're arguing. I don't think it's escalated to a fight yet, but they are arguing, and do you know why?
Oh, I know, because they got a car crash.
Yeah, there's a car
He
crash.
hit the back of his car.
That's what it looks like. So again, it's just
I
showing.
didn't even notice that.
You're just showing these things that happen in city life, and you know what you have. But we just keep walking past it sometimes because we're just, especially in the city, you can just become numb to some things. And it's like, no, he's walking a cat. Oh, no, he has to stop. He is walking a cat.
So you saw someone
I hadn't seen that. I was like, I got to remember that one.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool that you included that in the book.
Yeah.
We didn't notice. Wow, yeah. That's funny. Yeah. We were trying to figure out, I think the question was, we were like, well, where are they eating? Remember we did a picture walk first?
Oh, yeah.
And she was trying to figure out where they were eating. And I was just like, I just told her they some outdoor cafe, like mini city.
I didn't have a name, but right, it's just we have a lot of markets and outdoor areas to dine and things. So so that's just to kind of mimic that activity that I see all the time that we do here in DC.
Yeah. That was cool. We didn't notice the accident though. Very cool.
Yeah, one time we went to, I think it was Safer or something. And then this girl, I think she hit the back of somebody's car or something by accident, and then now finding. Then one girl called the police.
Oh, you were there. Wow.
I was you.
Oh my gosh. I don't remember. I don't know. Yep, that happens in the city.
These things sometimes happen, but again, there was authority present. You had an adult present, your parent or your mother, your father were there to take care of you. So things happen and life goes on. I have another question for you all, and this is because it's just wonderful to sit here and chat about this book. How I guess how did you feel about the I guess I'll say kind of like the story? Did you feel like the story sat with you and then you wanted to come back and read it again and again and see some other things? Did you go through it several times? I guess how?
Well, we did a picture walk first, and we just looked at the pictures and talked about what they were doing. Yeah, but this was because that wasn't because of the book. That was because it was a long day, and I probably shouldn't have grabbed her right after school. I should have waited. Should have did it after her after school nap. Okay. But then we went back and read it. Yeah, I think she liked the pattern of it though. I think that actually was something kind of soothing, right? About it that made you feel kind of relaxed. Something. And I don't know what that is, that magic that authors do where
I like this part, the background of it's kind of relaxing and it's kind of like this chair. It's really
So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh,
and this is something
okay.
again that I thought about. So Farrah, what you're referring to is the background pattern. It's gold pattern behind the actual text. And I was very clear with the illustrator that I was I did not want to see any white in my book. I just didn't want to see any white space. And so we came up with this idea to say, instead of making this white or maybe a pale color, again, how can we go along the themes of that kind of Afrocentric, Afro-American theme? And that's how we came up with the pattern and the gold shading. And I was really, really pleased with it and really happy with it when she presented that to me, because I think it does bring some joy, onto the page, that gold color.
And it kind of with the purple and gold evokes royalty. Oh, okay. I'm getting it. I'm picking up what you're putting down, right? Yeah. You notice that? You put the two together. I didn't even notice the pattern.
And so the purple the pattern is on the cover too. And you are just like me. Because when the illustrator showed me purple, I was like, yes, regal. Royalty. That is what we will use.
And I'll tell you something, a fun fact too. Did you know that this museum is designed in the shape of a Ghanaian crown?
I did not know that.
The architect who did that. Gardner, I'm not saying that right, but anyway, a crown that a queen from Ghana would wear.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
How about that? Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it's wonderful. And I love the fact, I feel like when you look at the cover, you immediately, I think one, it's a super cool cover. I've had several people
I like the reflection.
stop and say, what is that? What is that? Because the cover is just so grabbing to them. And I love the shades. I love the museum that's in the shades. And most of all, I really love the picture of this African-American girl in all her beauty, with the braids, with the features. It's just, again, I tried to be as authentic as possible. And I mentioned to the illustrator, I want this book to be as authentic as possible to the lifestyle that I know, the children that I work with. It is for everyone. I want to be very clear. It is a book for everyone, but I wanted to reflect, again, the diversity, the pride, and the love, and the family unit that I know to be true. And I want that to come through in this book. And I think she just hit the nail on the mark and then some with executing all of her artwork.
And family is the thing that unites us all. I'm sorry.
I also like how it's kind of like the museum is kind of like the outside is kind of like a puzzle piece.
Right, with this big little yeah, it does look like a jigsaw puzzle. You can piece things together.
And then I think you ended up reading the book you took it on your own and just read it independently after we read it together. So she did read it like several times. Yeah, she enjoyed it. She was really excited to be here and to look through the book and discuss it with you too.
You've asked some really wonderful questions, and you and your mother, you all are like hitting on all those things that was important to me and that I hoped others would immediately notice as well.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it. Something I was gonna say about this. Oh, I could totally see this book in the Barnes and Noble. You know how some of the books they'll pop out like this one here, or like they'll show like the cover.
Oh yeah.
This will be the one where you walk in and you say, wait, let me look at this because she looks like my niece or she looks like my daughter, or what's the museum? It's reflected in the eyes. This is about something that's recent, like recently constructed. So it's kind of cool. And local.
And local. Yeah, and that's why I really wanted. So I try to live a life of service. Volunteering will always be a part of who I am. I can't do much of it now because I'm super busy with this book. But when I tried my best to put the kids first, and again to think of if I had a decision to make, what is best for the children? What is best for the children? Not best for me, but what is best for the children? And that was what really guided me every single step of the way with this. It's like, what's best for them? What do they need? What do they need? What do they need? And I know I can feel a little biased because it's just me saying what I think they need. But it's, if I think about what's best, I want to do what's best. I want to make this the best product and put that out there. And so there's a lot of thought that went behind it. In almost every page, every line, I have a story as to how I came to that, or how it came to be.
Awesome.
And I'm super thankful and super grateful for all the people that have helped me. I make the final decision. I have the ideas, but there are a lot of others that help me to execute and to see, what you're seeing here.
So there's a big team. See, that's something you learn about book publishing, right? Like there's a big team behind making this happen there.
It's teamwork.
Do you have any other questions for Dr. Kelsi?
No.
Any questions about writing, the writing process? You have to write a lot,
like
and then you
how,
have an author right here.
I like how it's kind of it's not so it's really clear so I can read it. It's not in cursive. Some kids can't read in cursive, and if you do it in print, then kind of
a little easier to read.
Yeah, it's in print. Yeah, I think so. I think it's pretty easy to read too. I think for a lot of kids, they'll find it in a story that they will enjoy.
Now, I have a question. So when you were writing, did you literally, as an author, or was this something you it with pen and paper, or do you process it at a computer? How do you actually?
So it's a little bit of both for me.
Okay.
I have ideas that just kind of come to me, and maybe it's while I'm doing something else. And so I just kind of jot it down and say, okay, I'll get to that later. Let me kind of remember. And then there are times where, I just take a few hours out of my day and say, this is going to be my writing time. I'm going to go back through and refine these ideas and try and, knock it out the way and really just add whatever complementary material I need to make this as strong as possible. But again, I want to say that this is a book, and I write and I am the author. But one thing that you should probably know, Farrah, just like you have probably an English teacher, I write, but it's very important for me to have the work that I write edited and reviewed. So I don't want you to think that I just write and immediately it's perfect. It takes time to get to what you see here in this book. So when you have your homework and your mother has to review your writing for your spelling or to make sure that your grammar is correct, I have someone that does that for me too with this book.
That's a very important part of writing is editing. We just went to back to school night, and my oldest son's English teacher said that writing is 25% writing and 75% editing. So you agree?
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
Wow. Yeah.
And I appreciate, there are people who are wonderful editors and wonderful at, just asking questions about, well, what do you mean by this? Is there a way you can, maybe the language is too colorful, maybe you can be more direct, maybe you can cut something out. And so I appreciate the feedback. And so Farrah, hopefully you'll appreciate the feedback from your parents and your teachers as they're helping you with your homework and your writing assignments.
Right?
Yeah. I actually have to I had to read a book, and then I had to write about what I read, and then kind of do a conclusion or something.
So a book report?
Yeah, kind of. And then I had to do it every day, and I think I'm gonna talk about this book.
Alright. Well, you've had me here to answer all your questions, so you should have additional information to include in your book report now. Some really good stuff.
Also, I like how if people speak a different language, on the back it says on the back of that one it says the Spanish version of it, and people always don't always can't know the exact language because some people speak a different language, and how you put it on the back of the book.
So Farrah, you bring up an important point. The book is now available in Spanish. Simone Visits the Museum. It just came out about 2 weeks ago or mid-September, I think. And my goal with this book, eventually it will take time, is to expose Simone's story to all children from all backgrounds, all cultures that speak multiple languages. And so for me, Spanish is that first step towards doing that. And we have a strong Hispanic presence here in the Washington, D.C. area and elsewhere. And so it's for native speakers, those that aren't native speakers, those that are maybe practicing or want to learn Spanish. It's for everyone.
That's awesome. And also, in school I take Spanish twice a week.
So you can read
Spanish,
this
you can
one.
practice. That would be good. That's a very good point. Yeah. Very cool. Because there's families of all colors, all cultures. The family is the strong theme of the book. So yeah, everybody can connect with that.
Any other questions for me?
Do you have any other questions?
I think I asked all the questions I have for now. Who knows what will happen after we stop recording, but I think I can't think of any right now. I just thank you for this opportunity. Right, Farrah?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you for having me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being so observant and just relaying to me how you felt about the book. That as an author, it means a lot to me to hear, how the book is received. And you said some very kind and very positive things, and I really truly appreciate it. So thank you.